The Bear is far from stealthy and would be destroyed by modern anti-aircraft missiles thrown from the air and the ground. A Bear launching cruise missile, on the other hand, does not need to get near air defenses in the first place. Contrarotating propellers are thus somewhat more efficient, but they are not generally used because they are more expensive to construct and maintain, as well as extremely noisy. Submarine operators and jet pilots have apparently complained about the noise made by TU-95s. Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we'll go through the Russians' TU-95 Bear. Before we get into the video, kindly note that the information provided in this video is for educational purposes only. Without further ado, let's dive in. Few planes are as distinctive as the Tupolev TU-95 Bear, a 4-engine Russian strategic bomber and maritime patrolled plane with a massive unicorn-like refueling probe, which gives it the appearance of a monstrosity lurching in from prehistoric times, or at the very least shortly after World War II as it is. But don't be fooled by its appearance. The TU-95 is still in service after more than 60 years because few aircrafts can travel such huge distances for such long periods of time while carrying a large payload. To put it another way, the TU-95 is Russia's B-52, but one with a distinctly nautical bent and a penchant for ramming coastal air defense systems across Europe, Asia, and North America. So let's talk about the origins. The Bear was developed in response to the Soviet Union's goal to establish its own strategic bomber force to rival that of the United States during World War II. In 1950, Soviet planners sought a 4-engine bomber capable of flying 5,000 miles and carrying over 12 tons of bombs to reach sites across the United States. However, the jet engines of the day burned through fuel far too quickly. As a result, ANDREI Tupolev's design team devised an aircraft with 4 strong NK-12 turboprop engines and contrarotating propellers. Each NK-12 features 2 propellers, the second of which spins in the opposite direction as the first. This not only counteracts the torque caused by the first propeller's rotational airflow, but also harnesses it for increased speed. Contrarotating propellers are thus somewhat more efficient, but they are not generally used because they are more expensive to construct and maintain, as well as extremely noisy. Submarine operators and jet pilots have apparently complained about the noise made by TU-95s. The unusual engines, on the other hand, paid off on the TU-95, which is one of the fastest existing propeller planes, capable of speeds of over 500 miles per hour. The propeller tips of the 18-foot diameter propellers spin somewhat faster than sound. The Bear is also one of the few propeller planes with swept-back wings, which are only useful for high-speed aircrafts. The TU-95 has a massive fuel capacity and can fly over 9,000 miles on internal fuel alone. Following the initial production variation, later versions included the unique in-flight refueling probe, expanding the range even further. Typical patrols lasted 10 hours during the Cold War, although some TU-95 flights lasted nearly double that. TU-95 had a crew of 6 to 8 people, depending on the model, with 2 pilots and 2 navigators, with the rest of the crew operating weaponry or sensor equipment. The Bear's first iteration sported 2 twin-barreled 23mm cannons in the belly and tail, as well as a single fixed gun in the nose, all of which were designed to fend off opposing fighters. With the advent of long-range air-to-air missiles, this type of armament became obsolete. Therefore, all but the tail gun were removed from the later aircraft. To be fair, B-52 tail gunners did score a couple kills over Vietnam. The Bear's original purpose was very straightforward. If the Cold War got really hot, dozens of individual Bears would fly across the Arctic Circle and dump nuclear bombs on targets over the US. Even if many were killed by anti-air missiles and defending jets, it was assumed that some would survive. The US Air Force's own battle plans, immortalized in the film Dr. Strangelove, were modeled around this. However, unlike the United States, the Soviet Union did not maintain a constant army of airborne nuclear-armed bombers. TU-95s were also utilized in nuclear bomb tests along these lines. The 50-megaton Tsar Bomba, dropped by TU-95V over Sverny Island in 1961, was the heaviest nuclear weapon to ever explode. Tsar was dropped 4 kilometers above the ground by a parachute, generating a mushroom cloud 40 miles into the sky. The Bear was hurled 1,000 meters towards the ground by the shockwave, but the pilot kept control and returned to base. The team had been told that they only had a 50% chance of surviving the test. Given the rising effectiveness of air defenses and the comparatively lower cost of unstoppable ballistic missiles, the Soviet Union sensibly judged that a nuclear strategic bomber force attempting to drop nuclear gravity bombs over the United States was a futile concept by the 1960s. As a result, several Tu-95 versions were created to pursue various tasks. Using the bombers as a platform for long-range cruise missiles was one way to get around the bombers' vulnerability to interception. The Tu-95K variant might have been equipped with massive Kh-20 nuclear cruise missiles, dubbed the AS-3 Kangaroo by NATO. The missiles had a range of 300 to 600 kilometers and resembled a wingless plane because it was based on the fuselage of a MiG-19. The Bear was also tasked with following US carrier battle groups. Finding and tracking ships over the immensity of the ocean, even with cutting-edge technology, was a difficult task. However, if a US carrier group is discovered, it might be attacked by swarms of land-based aircrafts. With its ability to fly for hours over the ocean and cover enormous areas, the Bear was ideal for locating and tracking US warships. The Tu-95 RT Maritime Reconnaissance derivative was designed specifically for this mission, with a belly pod containing surface search radar and a glass observation blister slightly beyond the tail cannon location. Tracking fleet movements were not only important in the event of a war, but it was also a psychological strategy to underline the Navy's vulnerability to air attacks. The invasive bears were frequently chased away by US carrier fighters. Photographs of numerous Bear-on fighter engagements became Cold War icons. So, what about the variants? Well, the Tu-95 LAL, which was fueled by a nuclear reactor, and the Tu-95K, which was planned to carry a MiG-19 fighters for airborne deployment, were among the experimental Bears. The Tu-95MR photo-reconnaissance aircraft, as well as the enhanced Tu-95K and KM with superior sensors and the capacity to launch Kh-22 missiles, went into production. The Bear was later developed into the Tu-142, a specialized anti-submarine reconnaissance plane for the Soviet Union. This was motivated by concerns about the new POLARIS submarine-launched ballistic missile, or SLBM for short, which was the first underwater ballistic missile to be launched in 1960. The surface search and targeting radar on the Tu-142 is known as Burkut. A magnetic anomaly detector is housed in the tail boom and is used to locate submarines. To fit all of the sensors, the Tu-142 has been stretched a little longer. Several times throughout the Cold War, these systems had to be improved to stay up with the US submarine technology. The newest variant, the Tu-142MZ, has more powerful engines and can employ improved RGB-16 and RGB-26 sonar buoys. Tu-142s were successful in locating and trailing US submarines for hours at a time on several instances. Two modified Tu-142MRs were also built to communicate with Russian submarines. The Russian Navy still has 15 Tu-142s in service. One was recently detected in Syria, possibly spying on Syrian rebel positions or monitoring US fleet movements with its systems. Since 1988, the Indian Navy has flown 8 Tu-142 MKEs. However, they will soon be replaced by 12 P-81 Poseidon aircrafts. The Bear went on to become Russia's first AWAC aircraft, the Tu-126, as well as the Tu-114 airliner, which flew Khrushchev non-stop from Moscow to New York in 1959. Neither type, however, is still in use today. Apart from the Tu-42, the only Tu-95s in service today are over 50 Tu-95MS aircrafts, which were built from the Tu-142 airframe to serve as a cruise missile carrier capable of firing Kh-55 missiles, also known by NATO as the AS-15. They were recently updated to carry 16 cruise missiles and were given modern navigation and targeting systems. The Kh-55 is available in a variety of conventional and nuclear variants, with ranges ranging from 3,000 kilometers to 300 kilometers. The Tu-MSM can also fire the Kh-101 and nuclear Kh-102 stealth cruise missiles, which fly low and have a small radar cross area. These missiles have a range of 5,500 kilometers. Despite its lethal payloads, the Bear could be showing its age. They were momentarily grounded in the summer of 2015 after their second accident in 2 years. So, what should we cover next? Do let us know in the comments section below, and if you enjoyed the video, please check out our other videos. But until then, be sure to stay tuned.